Hello and welcome to the Football News. On the show, we round up all the biggest stories in the beautiful game right now. The end of the season is approaching soon, but which stories have been in the headline this week? This week we asked whether Liverpool fans were right to boo Trent at the weekend, whether Carlo Ancelotti can bring the World Cup back to Brazil, and we review all of the action from Saturday's FA Cup final at Wembley. We look into all that and a whole lot more in today's show. If you are watching on YouTube, skip to the timestamp in the video description to watch the story that you are most interested in. So, without further delay, let's dive in. After a lot of rumours and speculation, it is now confirmed that Carlo Ancelotti is going to be the new manager of the Brazilian national football team. The Seleção will appoint their first ever foreign manager after Carlo Ancelotti leaves Real Madrid at the end of this season. It was rumoured that Carlo was going to be sacked, unfortunately, from Real Madrid. They haven't quite performed this season on the level that they have come to expect. They're probably going to lose out to the La Liga title. They, of course, have not won the Champions League. That really is enough to get rid of him, unfortunately, for Real Madrid standards. For me, he's still one of the GOATs of management, without a doubt. He is one of the legends of the game, and that is pretty much what the Seleção have said as well, the Brazilian national football team, when they have appointed him as their manager. They said he's a legend of the game. They have said that he's one of the all-time greats of football management, and he absolutely is. There is no doubt about that. But the big question that everybody is going to be wondering is he good enough to be able to win the World Cup with Brazil? Because that's ultimately what Brazil wants. Brazil haven't won the World Cup since 2002, and we all remember the old Brazil side. I mean, I remember growing up and just being in absolute awe of Brazil. I mean, I remember 2002 World Cup. I remember watching the games like before school started, because they were really early on in the morning, being in Japan and Korea, of course, so many hours ahead. We used to get into school early and just wheel out that old like CRT TV, and I used to watch it on the school floor. I remember watching England against Brazil and how good Brazil were. I mean, we're disappointed to go out of the World Cup in the quarterfinals like usual, or become usual, I should say, at that point, 3 times in a row under Sven. But, Brazil, we weren't that annoyed about losing to Brazil because Brazil was like the team. You feared Brazil. And ever since then, it's never really been the same, to be honest. Not been the same force to be reckoned with. They've not really gone deep in a World Cup tournament in a very long time. And it's kind of sad to see, really, because you think of the beautiful game, you think of Joga Bonito, you think of all that sort of stuff, and that all comes from Brazil. And since then, it's just not been the same, really. So can Brazil win the World Cup with Carlo Ancelotti? Because that's ultimately what they want. They want to get that 6th star on that famous yellow jersey. So can they do it? Well, it's going to be a big task, because at the end of the day, it's not like the club game where you can just buy players in, where you can bring players in to suit your system. Carlo has to work with what he's got, and he's never managed a national team before. That's going to be completely new to him. And he's already got a few critics in Brazil, believe it or not. I mean, the Brazilian press, when it comes to their football team, it is absolutely incredible how passionate they are, shall we say, to put it kindly. At the end of the day, he is also going to still be in Europe. He's not going to be moving to Brazil, and that has caused a bit of controversy over in Brazil. Of course, he's the first foreign coach of Brazil on top of that as well, so there's going to be a bit of added pressure there. But if anybody could take that kind of pressure, someone who's managed, of course, some huge clubs in the past, Chelsea, AC Milan, currently manager of Real Madrid in like his second stint there, he's used to pressure. It's not new for him to be able to kind of handle that. But Brazil is probably on another level to anything else, even more than something like England, and even more than something like Real Madrid. It is an absolute pressure cooker of an environment. But, I think he can do a very good job with them, because Carlo is different in the modern game of football. He does very much go without a system. He just tells his players to go out there and play and enjoy themselves. It's the absolute antithesis to someone like Pep Guardiola, who's been so successful in the club game with a very rigid system, a very prescribed way of playing football. Some, critics say robotic. Carlo is different. Carlo Ancelotti is completely different to that. And of course, he knows quite a few of the Brazilian players already, with the likes of Rodrigo and Endrick, and of course Vini Jr. all playing for Real Madrid currently. He knows a few of those players already. That will help him settle in there. I think it's going to be very entertaining to watch. Whether he can win the World Cup or not is another matter. It's going to be very, very difficult. It sounds daft, but only one team can win the World Cup. There are so many great national teams right now. Argentina are the defending champions. Spain are the European champions. The likes of England, France, Germany. They are no pushovers. They're going to be very tough to beat as well during this tournament. So Brazil are always going to be among the favourites. They have to be. But you look at the players overall in the finale for Brazil, and honestly, I don't want to say they're not good enough. I think they are. But you wouldn't say they are quite the favourites. You wouldn't say that they're a cut above the rest. They are not on that level. You know, if you were to pick in terms of player for player, you would probably, you might say biased Englishman or whatever, but I would say England are probably better in terms of their depth. I would say France probably better. I'd say Spain probably better. And I'd say Argentina, sorry Brazil fans, it's going to hurt to say it, but I would say Argentina are probably at least on a par with Brazil right now in terms of their overall quality. But the thing is, right, it doesn't matter about being the best team. It matters about being the winner. That trophy on the World Cup says winner. And Carlo is a winner. He's won everything. Won everything in the club game. Absolutely everything. Can he do the same for the international scene? Yeah, why not? Why not? I think it's possible, but he has to hit the ground running. He's got to have a good World Cup. If he doesn't make at least, I think, minimum semi-finals, I think he'd be out the door. And I don't think that's the right thing to do, by the way. I just think that would happen because we know what the Brazilian FA are like. They are, the CBF are not the most level-headed of football associations. Shall we just say about that? But yeah, Ancelotti to Brazil. It's been rumoured about for ages, guys, but it's finally happened. Your thoughts about it in the comments below, as always. I want to hear what you have to say about this. And good news, everybody, especially if you are a fan of Reading FC, because the takeover that has been months and years in the making is finally over the line. De Jong is gone, and the ownership has finally changed after so much suffering from the Royals fans. They are finally rewarded with a new owner. This is great news for the club. I must admit, anybody would be better than De Jong. It has been an absolutely awful time off the pitch for them. I did bring you news about this a while ago, that a takeover was finally being forced through. It was looking pretty dark for Reading for a long time. It was looking like they might not even be able to compete next season in League One. But as it is, they've got a new owner. It's a new beginning. And on the pitch as well, let's not forget, they finished in 7th place this season. Really, really good considering the tumult and chaos off of the pitch. To just get outside the playoffs, I think was an absolutely incredible achievement. And next season, I am sure, with the right investment, they will be very much in a shot of getting promotion. Not only playoffs, but potentially automatic promotion. But let me just go through all the details about who the new owner is and everything in between. Shout out to the BBC Sport for covering this. Let's go through all the information here. Reading's takeover by ex-Wycombe Wanderers owner Rob Couhig is complete. The club have announced. The Royals revealed earlier this month that a sale in principle to Redwood Holdings Limited, a subsidiary of Dogwood Football LLC, which is owned by the American lawyer and business partner Todd Trosclair, had been agreed. That deal has now been finalised and ratified by the EFL. It means that Couhig, 75 years of age, will take control of shares in the League One club, the Select Car Leasing Stadium and Bearwood Training Ground from former Reading owner De Jong, whose tenure as majority shareholder since 2017 has been fraught with financial difficulties and years of fan protests. They've had a relegation, they've had points deductions. Like I said, they were on the verge of not existing, but they look to be safe now. It really, really is positive. We always hear about doom and gloom stories in the English football pyramid, but this is very much a feel-good story here this week. Reading said the following: the club are pleased to announce that Redwood Holdings Limited, a subsidiary company of Dogwood LLC, owned by Rob Couhig and Todd Trosclair of New Orleans, Louisiana, has completed the acquisition of 100% of the shareholding in Reading FC. The takeover has received EFL clearance, completed very early on Wednesday morning, and that includes the Select Car Leasing Stadium, most people still know it as the Medeski Stadium, and the Bearwood Park Training Ground. Both Couhig and Trosclair will join the club's board with immediate effect, with Rob Couhig being named as the chairman. Redwood is ambitious and dedicated towards the club returning to its rightful place within the English football pyramid, while adhering to clear principles of honesty, transparency and financial sustainability. Further communication from Redwood will follow in due course. So yeah, I mean, we all know about the chaos with De Jong and everything. I mean, they've had a total of 18 points deducted from them over these last few years. They've gone down to League One, the third tier of English football. They've had transfer embargoes. Their female team as well, their women's team, has ceased to exist. because of the financial issues there, because obviously they're tied to Reading FC, so the men's team are suffering. The women's team don't even exist at this moment, in a competitive sense anyway. I mean, they're in the 5th tier, so that is really, really deep into the women's game at that point. Kuhig, who stepped down as Wycombe Wanderers chairman last June, had previously attempted to buy Reading last year, but negotiations broke down in September 2024. In March, Young, who was disqualified as an owner by the EFL and given an April deadline to sell the club, claimed that the American was blocking his attempts to sell, with Reading then in a period of exclusivity with a separate unnamed potential buyer for a deal that subsequently fell through. Kuhig denied these claims, and the injunction Young sought against him was rejected by the courts, leaving the door open for another round of negotiations. During Kuhig's stint with Wycombe Wanderers, the Chairboys achieved a first ever promotion to the Championship, the 2nd tier, in 2020. They were relegated back to the 3rd tier of football the following year, but finished 5th this season, 9 points ahead of Reading, and have just been knocked out of the EFL League One semi-final playoffs. So yeah, they're doing very well at the moment. Wycombe are with the greatest respect to the Chairboys, a much smaller club. It's fantastic, that they managed to get to the Championship, and they're consistently competing to get back to the Championship as well. I think it's fantastic that Reading have been bought by this guy. I mean, anybody's better than Young, let's be honest here. But yeah, I'm very much, I'm optimistic for the future. I really, really do think, in my bold predictions, which I famously always get right, every single one. Go look at my reaction to them. I got everyone pretty much wrong for League One. But I'm optimistic for Reading. I think they'll be up and around the battles of promotion really for next season. I don't see why not. They're a big club for that level. They've got a huge stadium and just the right kind of investment that will really see the Royals get back to 2nd tier. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But the main thing is for them, they've got a financial solid kind of foundation now at this point. So yeah, your thoughts in the comments below, guys. All right, so let's talk about the FA Cup. Now, for these big games, I want to do like a 5-thing review type video, but instead of that, I just wanted to have a general kind of conversation really when it came to this game, because this is a huge one, not only for the two teams that were involved, Manchester City and Crystal Palace, but also just for the Premier League as a whole, as the European race as well has changed as well. And just from that very statement, you can probably surmise who has managed to win, and that is Crystal Palace. Palace are glad all over right now. They'll be partying down in the capital after this incredible result for their club. They managed to beat Manchester City 1-0 at Wembley Stadium to win their first major honour in 120 years of existing. Just around 15 years or so since they were on the verge of bankruptcy, on the verge of not existing anymore. Here they are, Premier League stalwarts at this point. They've been in the Prem for 12 seasons now in a row. They've won their first major honour, and they will also play in the Europa League as well next season. Absolutely unbelievable stuff. And you know what? They deserved it. They absolutely deserved it today. They rode their luck with one big incident that I will talk about for sure. But overall, Manchester City had all the ball, 80% of possession almost throughout this game. They absolutely should have waltzed this. They should have wiped the floor with Crystal Palace, but they spurned their chance. They blew it. They bottled it. Yeah, I'll say it. They bottled it on more than one occasion really in this game. They had a penalty. They missed it. Incredible save by Dean Henderson from Omar Marmoush. But should Erling Haaland have took the penalty? Yeah, of course he should have done. He's their regular penalty taker. Why is Marmoush taking it? He missed. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic save by Dean Henderson in the Crystal Palace goal. But should he have been on the pitch at that point? I don't think he should have been personally. I really don't think he should have been. There was an incident in the first half where, honestly, in real time, it was hard to immediately tell what he did. He basically came rushing out of the goal to try and intercept a ball that was being played up to Erling Haaland, and it looked as though, Haaland maybe touched it and it went wide or something, but no, Henderson actually got a palm to it and palmed the ball wide, and you might be thinking, well, that's not such a big deal. He's a goalkeeper. That's what he does. Well, yeah. Inside his technical area, not outside of it. This was outside of it. This should have been given as a red card for me and a free kick. Not a penalty, obviously, because it was outside the area, but this 100% was a sending off for me. And this is the kind of clear and obvious error for me that VAR was brought in to do, but as we see all of the time, it's just not consistently applied. The people in the VAR booth just don't know what they're doing. It's embarrassing, really, at this point. It really, really is. I mean, I totally get why Wayne Rooney in the comments commentary box, in the pundit box, as it were, for BBC, said that VAR should be scrapped. And I don't disagree with that sentiment. Honestly, I prefer football without VAR. I really, really do. If I had a choice between having it and not, it's not perfect not having it for sure. Like, you'll get the odd howler here and there, but the referees are human and they make mistakes. But the VAR people, yes, they are human, but my word, they should be making less mistakes. They've got all the time in the world, every angle available to them. But yeah, they still can't sort this out. So the only thing that I can say is that Haaland was going wide. But the thing is, if Henderson didn't do what he did, then Haaland would have been through on goal pretty much at that point. There was a Crystal Palace defender covering, but it still would have been an open goal at that point. So for me, that's a moot point, and it absolutely should have been a penalty. But so not a penalty, sending off, I should say. But you know, Man City, they had the opportunities. You know, Henderson pulled off some great saves in the first half as well. And you know, Pep Guardiola not being very gracious in defeat, as you kind of expect at this point. I'm rather disappointed in him, to be honest with you, saying that Palace basically scored from their only attack in the entire match. Well, they did score a second goal. Yeah, it was disallowed. Sarr was offside before Muniz actually put it into the net. But yeah, just embarrassing the way that Pep Guardiola's going on. He was picking a fight with Henderson after the game as well. Like, come on, man. You've won everything in the game. You've won like 3 trophies every single season since you've been at Man City. And yeah, you've had an off season this season, but don't go being like that. I just think that's it just shows a lack of class, really. But, you know, end of the day, like I said, Palace deserve it. They took their chances. Man City didn't. And honestly, you know, like I said, people are glad all over about this, you know. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, and I've mentioned this a few times, I've kind of fallen out with love with football a little bit recently. You know, football's not been quite the same, you know, product for me, really. It's not been as entertaining in recent times as what it has been historically. Yeah, there's been some fantastic games, you know, Inter Milan against Barcelona in the Champions League, some of the best games I've ever seen. Again, both of those legs in that two-legged tie in the Champions League for the semi-finals, unbelievable games. But overall, the games have just been a bit dull. You know, football's just not been as entertaining for me. But seeing Newcastle United win the EFL Cup, that was cool. Don't get me wrong, that was cool. But it was still a very rich club winning a piece of silverware. But Palace managing to win the FA Cup, the first time they've ever won a major in their entire history, it's fantastic. You know, you have to hold your hands up and be like, this is impressive, this is incredible, this is what we want to see more of. We don't want to see Man City winning everything. No, listen, apart from Man City fans and maybe like the odd Brighton fan here and there, nobody would have wanted Man City to win today. Nobody. Who the hell would have wanted Manchester City to win another trophy? Everybody wanted Palace to win, and they did, and they deserved it. Well done to them. Man City bottled it. Palace took their chances, made it count, into the Europa League. It's massive. It's a potential sliding doors moment for them. This could be they've been knocking on the door of Europe in quite a few times, but, you know, always solidly mid-table, never quite getting into the upper echelons. And yeah, they'll be solid mid-table again this season, but they're in the Europa League as a result of their exploits. And like I said, this also changes the race for Europe too. So instead of the top 8 positions now paying European spots, it's now the top 7. So this pretty much, well, actually, no, it does end the chances of the likes of Fulham, Bournemouth, teams like that from getting one, and Brentford as well. It's ended their chances of getting a Europa Conference League spot. Palace will be in the Europa League. 7th place in the Premier League, that will go to a Conference League spot. That's currently Nottingham Forest. And the 6th spot will go to a Europa League spot as well. The top 5 in the Champions League. So it changes things in the European race as well. Fantastic for Palace. So happy for you guys. Enjoy it. Man City, commiserations, I guess, but come on. You guys have won everything for a long time now. It's time for you to have an off season. You've been due one for a long time, and it's finally happened. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the rest of the season, guys. There's more twists and turns here. But yeah, that is fantastic news for Palace. That is going to be a real opportunity for them to push on. It really, really will be. Glasner, he's a former Europa League winner. If he wins it with Palace, he goes into the Champions League with them. I don't think it's going to happen personally. I think that's a bit far, but you know, the fact they're in Europe, that is huge for them. That really, really is. European football, European nights, Thursday nights at Selhurst Park. I can't wait to see it. We need to talk about Trent. We've got to talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold. We have to talk about what happened at the weekend against Arsenal. Now, Arsenal played against Liverpool on Sunday evening in the Premier League. This could well have been a title decider had Arsenal kept pace with Liverpool, but as it was, I don't want to say it was a dead rubber because it was quite a good game and quite a lot to talk about. Obviously, there were the 4 goals in this one. It was a 2-2 draw, but we need to talk about Trent because he came on from the bench partway through the game in the second half and was booed. Not by Arsenal fans, by Liverpool fans, his own fans. Now, for you guys that don't know, Trent has announced that he's going to leave Liverpool Football Club at the end of the season. He has not announced where he's going, although everybody and their mother believes that he's going to Real Madrid, as do I. I think that's pretty much confirmed. That's going to be happening. He's clearly signed with somebody else, and Real Madrid have very much been the team that he's going to go to. But the point is that he's leaving, and Liverpool fans, or at least some of the Liverpool fans anyway, I should say, did not take that very well. And that is understandable. You wouldn't be happy about it. Why would you be happy about one of your own, for lack of a better term, coming through a Liverpool academy, winning everything with the club, being an excellent footballer, incredible ball-playing player, like the crosses the guy puts in from set pieces, the free kicks he can hit, absolutely mesmeric. Genuinely, one of the best passers of the ball in the history of the Premier League. I will die on this hill quite happily. He is up there with the likes of David Beckham, no doubt. Absolutely no doubt for me. But he was booed. Now, why was he booed? And on top of that as well, was the Liverpool fans that did boo, were they correct to do so? Well, I'm going to go into that because I didn't want to talk about this in all honesty, but it's all anybody was talking about yesterday. I was travelling to and from Sheffield. I was going to see my team in the playoff semi-finals, and I had a lot of time to listen on the radio. And it was the main topic of conversation before the game as I was travelling down the car, and it was the main topic of conversation coming back up. And I want to talk about it because I want to kind of get across people's opinions. There are a few different conflicting takes on this as to why he was booed, and why some people think it was correct for those Liverpool fans who chose to boo, and why the majority of people, I would say, especially Liverpool fans as well, I'm including you guys in this because you guys had your kind of say on it. Most Liverpool fans, from what I can tell, from the people who were phoning up the radio station that I was listening to, would say that people were wrong to boo. And that's kind of obvious. The reasons for it being wrong to do that are very obvious. He is your own player. He has come through your academy. He is a local lad. He has given everything to the club for the last 20 years. He has won everything with the club. Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, EFL Cup, Club World Cup, Community Shield. He's won the lot. He has completed football with Liverpool, for lack of a better term. And on top of that as well, as much as we think of football as being more than a job, more than a profession, more than anything else, it is a job. Right? And if he wants to leave and go somewhere else, when his contract expires in the summer, he can do so. That's just the way football is. He's not the first to do it. He's not the last to do it, especially when involving Real Madrid. The amount of high-profile players that have gone there on free transfers over the years is absolutely obscene. I think they've gone on record as saying they basically tap up players, not them personally, but Florentino Perez, the president of Real Madrid, he speaks to players for years and years before they actually go. Antonio Rudiger, who of course left Chelsea for Real Madrid a good few years ago, he basically said that. And I'd be surprised if Perez has not been actually talking to Trent Alexander-Arnold on some level, even if it's just been an email, a WhatsApp, or any kind of messaging service, right? I'd be surprised if they've not had direct contact for the last couple of years or so, because Trent has been a very hot property in that time. He has been renowned for being one of the best passers of the ball for a very long time in the Premier League, the last 3-4 years at least now. So I'd be shocked if Perez has not at least tried to reach out to have a chat with him, and that's been one of the reasons why he has probably signed for Real Madrid. And I get it, you're not going to be happy about it. And Liverpool fans have booed their former players when they've come back after joining other clubs, like Luis Suarez when he came back for Barcelona. I imagine McManaman was booed for Real Madrid, and Michael Owen was definitely booed when he came back playing for Manchester United. All absolutely understandable. I don't like it, but if I was in their shoes, I'd be doing the exact same thing. I don't want to go supporting them. I want to make them regret their decision for leaving my club. I understand that. I don't like it. It's not exactly positive, but, in the world of football these days, it's totally fair game, and that is relatively splitting hairs about that. Those kind of examples are not really an issue, but even when those players announced that they were leaving, like McManaman apparently again, this is a bit before my time really, I think he left in 99, something like that, long time ago anyway, but he announced that he was going to leave Liverpool in January, and he left in the summer. And he was never booed. This is a long time ago in football, obviously, but Alexander-Arnold has now come out and said that he's going to leave. And I think it's disgusting that he's been booed. I mean, that's my take on all this. I think it's absolutely disgraceful that he's been booed. And again, this is not all Liverpool fans, Apparently, again, this is just going off of what callers are saying. I wasn't in the stadium. I don't know what actually happened before the game. But when they read the lineups out, Alexander-Arnold's name was pretty heavily booed when it was said as a substitute for that game. Now, when he was actually coming off the bench to try and win the game for Liverpool, try and maintain that lead, I should say, not the majority of people booed. It was quite loud, for sure, but it wasn't like the whole stadium. So it's not everybody that was there. It was probably a vocal minority, or maybe like half. You know, it's hard to gauge numbers just by the sound of things, but it wasn't the entire stadium. It would have been a lot louder if it was the whole of Anfield that was booing him. So it wasn't like it was everybody, but it was a significant portion of them. And you could tell when he came off the bench, he was hurt by that. And I don't want to be going playing the sympathy card for him here. People will say, oh, well, you know, he can dry his tears with his €100 notes that he's going to be getting from Real Madrid every other week. You know, the people will be saying stuff like that, but he's still a human being. And this is his club that he's supported since he was a boy. And again, some people will say, well, he shouldn't go leaving him, should he? Yeah, it's a tough decision, but, you know, it's wanting to go and experience another team. He's won everything with Liverpool. He owes them nothing. He owes them absolutely nothing. He's won everything with them. So if he wants to go off and go to another club, that's his decision. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to like it as a Liverpool fan, but don't go booing the guy. Don't go booing the guy. Come on. He's one of your own. Your motto, your song that you sing for every single game is "You'll never walk alone." You've left him to hang out and dry. Come on. The hypocrisy of those fans that were doing that is downright shameful, in my opinion. It really is. Now, again, there was actually someone who claimed to be someone that booed Alexander-Arnold that came on that radio show, you know, that rung up and said, you know, we did it because, you know, we felt he deserved it. We feel like he deserves this booing because of what he's done. What he's done is just plain wrong, and I don't buy it. I really don't buy it. I cannot support that theory. I can't get behind that thinking. I just think it's toxic. And to be honest with you, instant karma, in my opinion, as well, just came upon Liverpool at that point, because not long after Trent came on and looked visibly just shook, like, wow, you know, like what is going on here? He just basically lost concentration, you know. And I know some people say, well, he always does that when he defends. He can't defend. No, he clearly was, his head was not in the game, because Mourinho just completely ghosted into the box when Arnold was actually next to him when the initial shot came in, and Mourinho just tapped it in effectively for an equaliser. Trent was just stood you just watch him in that clip on the highlights. He's stood like a statue. He doesn't move. He doesn't even register that Mourinho's coming in to try and put the ball in the net. So I think it's disgraceful, to be honest. I really do. And the thing is as well, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room here. They're going to play another game. They are going to have another match at Anfield where they will lift the Premier League trophy. Alexander-Arnold will lift that Premier League trophy. Is he going to be booed? Is one of his special moments. I mean, because he's won the Champions League with Liverpool, he's won the Premier League before, but when he won the Premier League before, he did so when there were no fans in the stadium, because it was during the pandemic. This would have been the moment he's been waiting his entire life for. And yes, people have a right to express their opinions. I get that. I support that. People should be allowed and feel free in an open society to get their opinions out, but it doesn't make what they do right. You know, there has to be consequences for your actions, you know, and I just can't get behind it. And to have that hanging over him, it don't feel right, man. It just don't. You know, going into that trophy lift in a couple of weeks' time, I can't say I'm a fan of that. I really can't. So, genuinely, the fans that are booing him, he's your own player. And you're, like you say, your motto is "You'll never walk alone," and you've just cast him out. And I know you'll say that, oh, well, you know, he cast himself out by leaving. And I get that viewpoint. But don't go booing him like that. Not when he's still playing for your club. I just think that's disgraceful, to be honest. But I thought Liverpool fans were genuinely above this, but clearly some of them aren't. It's a bit disgraceful, to be honest, to say the least. But your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Were Liverpool fans right to boo Arnold? Do they have a right to boo him? Should they have booed him? Is he right? I just want to get your opinions about this, because I know there's going to be a lot of strong opinions about this. And sorry if I sound a bit off today. Hay fever is absolutely rinsing me to pieces today. I keep having to take little breaks to blow my nose and stuff. It's I know, first world problems, woe is me and all that. But yeah, that's been a real challenge today. But yeah, have your say in the comments below, guys. I want to hear what you have to say about this. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to see more like this. And yeah. We'll see you soon for some more content, hopefully a little less like this, to be honest. Not exactly a cheery subject to be talking about, really.